If you are thinking about picking one up, I just want to walk you through my experience living with it in a normal home setup. I have been using this television for a few months, every day, for streaming, sports, movies at night, and casual console gaming. I am going to talk about what actually stood out, what felt annoying, and what I think it makes sense for. An 85-inch television is not a subtle thing. I bought it because I wanted a big screen that could handle a bright living room and still look good at night with the lights off. If you mostly watch in a bedroom or a smaller space, I honestly think this size can be too much. Not because it is bad, but because you end up sitting too close and moving your head around to follow the picture. In a larger living room where you are sitting a reasonable distance back, it makes more sense, and it does start to feel like a home theater screen. The physical design is cleaner than I expected for something this large. The panel itself looks slim on the wall, and the borders around the image stay out of the way when you are watching. In day-to-day life, what I appreciated most was how the area around the television stayed tidy. The external connection box helps with that. Instead of having a bunch of cables pulling from the back of the screen, I was able to route connections to that separate box and keep the wall area looking less cluttered. That said, it also adds one more thing you have to place somewhere. I ended up putting it in a cabinet close to the television, and after that I basically forgot about it. Delivery and unboxing were a little stressful just because of the size. Mine arrived in good shape, and the packaging did its job. You still want another person to help. Trying to handle an 85-inch panel alone is how accidents happen. Wall mounting went smoothly for me, but you need to plan it out. Once it is up, it has that floating look people want, and it makes the room feel more organized compared to a giant set of legs on a stand. Setup was straightforward but not perfect. The on-screen steps are clear, and I was watching content quickly. The part that slowed me down was signing into accounts and getting everything the way I like it. If you change settings a lot, you may notice there are quite a few menus, and some options are not exactly where you would guess they are. After the first week, I stopped thinking about it, but that first day did take some patience. Picture quality is the main reason to buy a television like this, and in my living room it has been consistently strong. I watch a lot of streaming shows and movies, and I also throw on sports during the day. In bright daylight, the screen holds up well. Reflections are controlled enough that I am not constantly seeing windows and lamps over the image. It is not magic, but it is the difference between enjoying a daytime game and spending the whole time adjusting curtains. At night with the lights low, I paid attention to black levels and contrast, especially in darker movies. I see good separation between bright highlights and dark scenes, and I do not feel like the image turns into a gray wash when a scene gets dim. There is local dimming behavior you can notice in certain moments, like bright subtitles over a dark background, or a small bright object moving across a very dark scene. It is not something that ruins the experience for me, but I do notice it sometimes because I am looking for it. Color has been pleasing without me having to constantly tweak it. Skin tones look natural to me in most shows. When a stream is low quality, the television cannot fix that. You still see compression, banding, and noisy backgrounds in weaker sources. With good content, especially higher quality streams and proper 4K material, the image looks clean and detailed from a normal seating distance. Motion is a mixed bag depending on what you like. For sports, I prefer a clearer image with less blur, so I keep some motion processing on but not maxed out. If you crank it, you can get that overly smooth look that makes movies feel strange. I leave it at a mild setting and then stop thinking about it. If you are sensitive to motion processing, you will want to spend a few minutes dialing it in. Sound surprised me in a good way for a flat television. I can hear dialogue clearly at normal volume, and it can fill a living room without sounding thin. The effect where the sound tracks the action on screen is noticeable in some scenes, especially with cars moving across the frame or a character walking from one side to the other. It is not the same as a dedicated speaker system, and it will not replace a serious surround setup, but for everyday viewing, it has been more enjoyable than a lot of televisions I have used. The limitation is bass. You get some weight, but not the kind that makes explosions or music feel physically present. If you care about that, you will still want a separate subwoofer or sound system. Daily use is mostly smooth. The remote is simple, and after a few days muscle memory kicks in. App loading and switching has been reliable for me, and I have not had many freezes. One thing I do not love is that the home screen can feel busy. I prefer a cleaner layout. It works, it just is not my favorite style. Also, updates happen, and sometimes a menu shifts slightly or a setting moves. It is not a disaster, but it is a little annoying when you go looking for the same option you changed last month. Voice control is there if you want it. I tried it, and it is convenient when your hands are full, like when I am cleaning up the kitchen and want to pause something. Most of the time, I still use the remote because it is quicker for me, but voice is useful when you are across the room. For gaming, I have used it with a modern console. Input lag feels low enough that it does not get in the way. Fast camera movement stays clear, and I do not see obvious tearing when the frame rate shifts, as long as you have the right settings enabled on both the console and the television. The important real-life thing here is that it feels responsive, and I do not have to fight the display. If you are a competitive player, you will still want to use the proper game mode settings, because the image processing options that make movies look nice can add delay. The mobile app support is fine. I used it mostly for initial setup and occasional control when the remote was not nearby. It is not something I rely on daily, but it is helpful when you need to type a password faster than using the on-screen keyboard. That alone made it worth having installed. Living with an 85-inch screen also changes small habits. Lower quality content looks worse simply because it is bigger. If you watch a lot of older cable channels or heavily compressed streams, you will notice flaws more. On the flip side, when you put on a well-shot show, a nature documentary, or a movie with good lighting and detail, it looks impressive in a very straightforward way. It just looks like a big, clear window into the content. So overall, I think this television is for someone who wants a very large screen for a bright living room, wants strong contrast at night, and cares about having a clean setup with manageable cables. It is also a good fit if you do a mix of streaming, sports, and gaming, and you want one display that handles all of that without constant fuss. The main limitations in my experience are that the software interface can feel busy, the bass is limited like most thin televisions, and you may notice local dimming behavior in certain challenging scenes if you are paying close attention. None of those have been deal breakers for me, but they are real parts of living with it. Check the comments of this video for a link to see the current pricing of the Samsung QN95B 85-inch Neo QLED 4K Smart TV.